So in today's web dev tip, we're going to take a look at the array filter function in JavaScript. So this is another one of those functions that you can call on any array that you have, but I've got a simple array set up at the moment just with some numbers. I'm going to demonstrate how you can use the filter function to change that array, or rather create a new array based on some conditions that you pass into the filter function. So it's just a case of calling the filter function on the array. And as with most of the other array methods in JavaScript, this takes a callback, another function inside of here, and you need to return a value to decide whether or not to keep or remove the particular item from the array. So this function will be called once for each item in the array as it progresses through the list there. So in the callback, we can actually access each item individually as the filter function progresses through the items. So for the first loop, it will be the number 1, and we need to make a decision as to whether we want to keep this item in the new array that the filter function will generate. And we do that by returning either a true or false value. So if we provide some kind of expression to say something like, if the item is equal to 1, which at the first iteration it will be, then we will keep that item in the array because we're going to return true. But for all of the other items, so for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, this expression will be false. So you'll notice in the output on the right-hand side that the only item that's kept in the array is the value of 1. So just to take this to the extreme, for example, if we were to return true for every item in the array, you'll see that we get the original array unmodified coming back in our output. Or if we were to return false, we'll actually get an empty array because no items will ever be kept. So using the filter function in JavaScript is just a case of working out what condition you're going to use to match items in the array. So we could say something like, let's keep all of the items that are in the array that are bigger than 4. So as you can see, that just gives us 5 and 6. And you can create more complex expressions as well by saying something like the item is bigger than 4 and less than 6, which gives us the value of 5. So these expressions inside of the filter function can be simple, or sometimes they can be more complex depending on what kind of data is in your array. For example, if you've got an array of objects, you might want to test certain properties and their values before you actually return a true or false value from the filter function. And of course, as with the other array methods as well, you have access to the item's position as the loop goes through each items in the array. And you've also got access to the array itself, which is probably less useful with the filter function than it would be with other array methods. But you have got the option to use those arguments if you need to. And finally, the array.filter function will not actually modify the array. So if we just log that out to the console at the bottom here, you can see that even though we've run the filter function to remove all of the items except number 5, the original array is untouched. So you will need to reassign it to the existing variable or create a new variable if you want to store the filtered values that you've created with the filter function. So that's pretty much it for the filter function. Stay tuned for more web dev tips.